Annie, do you want to do a quick read of the? Oh, somebody else just joined. Michelle.
I don't have to read the virtual thing anymore, but
No.
Today is August 26th. The time is 7 p.m. and this is the Lake Management Committee meeting. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen now.
Oh, yeah, Michelle just joined us. Okay.
Now, just a disclaimer, I guess. Even though it says August 12th, I'm just saying this because it's on a recorded thing. Even though on the screen it says August 12th, the previous meeting was canceled due to lack of quorum.
Right. So we do have a new agenda, which is I sent to everybody, which is for the August 26th meeting tonight. And we'll get to that one. All right. Do you have that other one handy, or they're actually the same same information on there? Because we were not able to have the meeting.
Yeah, I have to quickly download it.
Well, you can leave that one because they're identical except for the date on the top.
Okay.
We still have to go down all the same items.
Yeah, as long as it's known that an agenda was posted for an August 26th meeting.
Right.
I think we should be okay.
So, anyway, we'll go down. Let's just do the attendance quickly. Norm?
Here.
Mike Coombs?
Here.
Malcolm is not here. Mike DeBay?
Here.
Myself here. Scotty?
Here.
Annie's obviously here. Deb is not. Eric?
Here.
Paul Murphy?
Here.
Okay, so we have a quorum and we are ready to go. Everybody's got the minutes from the July 22nd meeting, which was our last one that we were, supposed to discuss on the meeting that we had to cancel because of no power and no internet. Nasty storm. So anyway, has everybody had a chance to read the minutes?
Yes. Yep.
Are there any comments, changes, corrections? No?
No. I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as written, Dick. Mike
Okay.
Coombs.
Mike C. Yeah.
I'll second. Norm will second it.
Norm, second. Let me just jot those down. Norm, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Any opposed? Any abstain? Unanimous. Let me poll everybody, so make it official because we're doing it by Zoom. All right, so Norm,
Yes.
Mike Coombs,
Yes.
Mike DeBay,
Yes.
me, yes. Scotty,
Yes.
Eric,
Yes.
Paul Murphy.
Yes.
Okay, verified, unanimous. Okay. So we can move along. So next, let me just so we'll go through the package from because there was 2 extensive reading files. So the meeting that we were going to have, I sent out in 2 sections, or I would have clogged everybody's computers. And so you've got, let me just pull that one up. So we go to the one that's page 1 through, and Annie, you have that up. You're on page 2 now. So we can go to CRC update. Oh, public comments. Do we have anybody on public comments? I hear none. Okay. So CRC update, Michelle, because Deb's not here, so you've got the ball on CRC only.
Terrific. Hi, thanks for having me. Yeah, we had our last meeting. We all voted, the board voted unanimously to fund the lighting for 2 of the buoys, or 3 of the buoys, I think it was. And we were kind of looking to LMC to let us know what you all think are the priorities. We were thinking the channel where the sandbar is on Middle, maybe to start things off. I know Harbor Master and Chief Landis had said they were going to kind of start off with an example to see how it looked and how things went. But CRC did also vote to provide several of those as well. We know the tag is probably going to be about $400. I think, Dick, from what you had said, with the Coast Guard approved lights and cages.
Yeah, they range around, looks like I ordered a set, by the way. So that we can figure out, because the part that we do not have yet, and when we get to that part of it later in this package, I'll go over the design information that we have so far. But what I've done is order the light, a sample mounting bracket that they have, which is plastic, so everybody can see it. I also have in my possession, as you'll see later on, a guard that's commercially available that I found. And so we'll have the light, the guard. We do need an adapter made. And again, I'll go through all that in detail when we get down to the that section, if that's okay with you.
Absolutely. No, terrific. Yeah, people are very much behind doing that. You know, as I had said, we've done well. We had a very successful membership drive. And, you know, folks felt like that was a good priority for use of some of the funds that we acquired. Okay. So, yeah. And then we do have our golf tournament coming up September 25th. So I just wanted to throw out a reminder to folks, if people want to register to golf, or if they have any businesses that would like to sign up for sponsorship or providing raffle prizes. And then the other opportunity is also to purchase signs as a memorial for any friends or loved ones that they may have lost that they would like to memorialize as well. That's going to be September 25th at Edgewood, with dinner following at the Brass Rail.
Okay. Now we do Concom update. Norm?
Yes, from the August 2nd meeting, 2 items to mention. One was the South Pond Association came in with their potential update to their maintenance plan, and they're looking at putting a porta potty on their property there. So that will probably show up in their next maintenance plan coming in.
Okay.
Also, that's the night that I pitched the Conservation Commission on my boat inventory and violations. I told Dick that I felt the response that I got was a C-. The only conservation member that spoke was Chris. And he said, I guess we're going to have to start to seriously consider fining the people. So I was a little bit down after the meeting. However, thanks to our reporter, he came in and apparently reviewed the Zoom meeting, and as a result, we've had 2 articles in the paper, and we have stirred the pot. Action is taking place. Numbers of letters have been sent out to violators. I don't have an update on how that response is going, but I know it's ongoing. And I think for the first time we've got some positive headway. And I think that the number one thing that we can do to improve the process in the future is developing the process to get the number of street signs on docks that is required. That I stated at a prior meeting that there's only 6% of the docks have that. That is the number.
By street sign, you mean the location indicator, the
Code, the
That's-
codes.
so.
Yeah,
Right.
yes, mine's Mass,
Right.
BER 100, you know, so.
Right, got it. Yep,
Um,
that's what I thought you meant.
yeah, and I gotta tell all of our members here that we are not, our percentage compliance is not that good either, okay? So if we need to step up our vigilance on that and talk to our neighbors, and because once those are in place, it's so easy to do the inventory, and rather than doing 40 to 50 hours to get the inventory done, you can probably do it in, you could probably do it the same time frame that we do our inventory of all the boats, and it'd be very quick.
Yeah.
That's the number one takeaway that I have. And I thank the press for backing us up on what needs to be done. We have definitely stirred the pot. We irritated the Suffield selectmen, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Doug Moglen was on the meeting call when I gave the presentation, and in that meeting I did state that we did not do a very good job of negotiating that contract. And it needs to be done, and a better job needs to be done next time. So I'm very positive that things are happening. And from the last meeting, the number one thing was to address the complaint from the selectmen from Suffield that there was going to be a special meeting between Conservation Commission and LMC to discuss how we solve this problem, and I don't believe it's been called yet. So that's the Conservation Commission update, plus the update of my presentation.
I think, Norm, one thing that might help in your comment about having the sign, the required ID signs on the ends of the docks, on the outboard end of the dock, the press could help us there by taking a photo of one and explaining how this really helps for emergencies. Anything happens out there, it's an address on water, because nobody knows really. There are very few people who know where they physically are on the lakes with respect to the land. So if you need to call an ambulance or the boat patrol that happens to be out and you say, well, I'm on Middle Pond. Well, that could take you a while to find you. But these docks, the dock panels, which require, I believe it's 3-inch high minimum letter characters, are easily visible from the water, and then you know exactly where you are.
Well, I will say they're not as easily visible as you would think. Without binoculars, I had to get pretty close to check them out, and even mine that are 6-inch on my dock, I have to come in quite a bit in order to identify what it specifically says.
Okay.
So that's something we might want to consider going forward, is going with the larger letters.
That's
but even just the 3-inch letters, at least that enables somebody to head towards shore and get a location.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
Whereas without it, I agree with
no
Dick.
idea.
you don't have any. It's not just you have no idea. You don't have anything you can say to the first responder on the phone.
Right.
I'm north of Jim's house. Jim, it's.
Oh, Jim.
Yeah.
All right. So
I've got Norm, I got a question. Who on the Conservation Commission is actually going forward with this list that you've done? There's nobody there right now, right? Besides the commissioners, but they're not full-time employees. Who are the employees that are actually helping you out?
Gene Nielsen has already sent out, I don't know how many letters, quite a few.
Good.
And,
is Jean the point person?
well, she'd be the point person. She's the one that's in the office. She communicates with the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
And she's well up on the database.
Oh,
She knows
absolutely.
her stuff. Yeah.
She does keep meticulous records.
Yep.
So do we have anything else on that or can we move on?
Can move on.
Let's move on.
All right.
Has anybody been hired to replace our fellow that left?
No, not yet.
Not yet.
Dennis is back part-time. He's basically filling in for himself as like a contractor. And so he's on call. He's been involved in several issues already. So he is physically addressing some of the issues that conservation, basically he works for conservation. So,
Okay.
you
Just
know,
wonder if anybody been hired.
yeah, while they're looking, they're still tough shoes to fill. Anyway, the next thing is 141 Congamon Road, AKA the old Krabby Joe's. And that's on your pages 16 through 34. A lot of information in there. I can kind of summarize that if you haven't read it. There's a new owner in town, and he's been in contact with DEP Western Region about a Chapter 91 license that would be for a marina and boat slips for the restaurant. And we had a really good Zoom meeting with DEP on the 29th of July. We being, it was conservation, myself, the planner, two from conservation, Brian Harrington and David Cameron. David is the chief for Waterways Western Region. Brian Harrington is deputy director for Western Region and also an attorney for DEP Western Region. So it was a very, very productive session with them. And that 141 Congamon Road was one of the subjects. And they are keenly aware of the issues. There was never a Chapter 91 license completed by the previous owner. So anything that he did is null and void. Also, since the facility has been closed for 3 years, everything, basically you got to start from scratch. New owner has to start from scratch. And so the building inspector, who is also the code enforcement officer, has met with him and has explained the facts of life about parking, having to meet with planning board, completely start over on that. There's not even enough parking to begin with for the restaurant. There never was, because a lot of it was on town land. And there's not enough to support a marina and the restaurant. So, because spaces have to be earmarked for the marina use. So he's got some work in front of him if that's to come to fruition. Plus, there's a whole hearing process associated with a new Chapter 91 license. So we'll just keep you up to date. Also, the wetlands permits expired for that facility. So that's got to start over too. So basically, starting with a building that needs a lot of work and all new permits. Anybody have any questions on it?
Yeah, how do we make sure it doesn't turn into a Louis B situation? You know,
That's
I don't know. How
when we
you
get
stop
to,
it.
I think when we get to that, you'll see, because DEP really has helped us in the case of that, and that's coming up shortly on the agenda.
Okay.
I heard a rumor that the
Yeah.
street that comes out to Congamon Road adjacent to that property is actually Krabby Joe's property.
That's not a rumor, that's true. However, it's the old be careful what you wish for. Because if thou ownest the street, then guess what? And within that street resides water main, sewer, other other utilities travel up and down through there.
Right.
So that's actually true. I traced
like
it
White
back
Street.
to, no, worse. It's actually in the deed that they own the street. It's not a case of where the right of way hasn't been assigned.
Okay. I heard that though. I did hear that rumor that, and you just
I
agreed.
I went through the deeds. It is true.
Uh-huh. Oh, would that
So-
give him the option of expanding the parking lot?
Not into that road.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so the next thing, let me flip my page here, is 129 North Lake Ave, going down the the agenda. Excuse me. And the DEP had, during that same conference call, Zoom meeting, the DEP said to hold off on any action until after December 1st. They will pursue it with us. The reason for December 1st is that's when all the structures have to be out of the water that are under LPP. So that's their recommendation, is sit tight, wait till December 1st, and then they will participate with us.
In which one? We're talking about 129?
Yes, that's where the 3 permanent structures
Yeah,
reside.
yeah, I know the. Yep, okay.
So that we're just going to sit tight.
And they're saying that then on December 1st, when those structures are still in, then they will engage.
Yes. Yes. So that kind of brings us to the next one on the agenda is 101 Point Grove Road. Louis B's or Walk on the Water or Louis Lakeside or whatever it's currently called.
Louis Marina.
Yeah. And there's 13 boats there. And the DEP, you have a copy of the letter. DEP sent them a notice of violation. Let me flip to and you have a copy of that, where I just have to flip back here. They issued a notice of violation of noncompliance to 101 Point Grove Road on the 5th of August. And they have to comply, meaning those boats have to be out of there by 8/27, which is tomorrow.
Can we get that in the newspaper?
Hmm?
Can we get that one in the newspaper?
Yes. Yeah, I mailed it out. I emailed it. This week, because I had that paperwork.
Okay.
So you've got a copy of it if
Yeah.
you look in your inbox. So the fines they can start issuing fines as of tomorrow if it's not complied with.
So are they issuing fines to each boat owner and her?
That will be, I think
Illegal?
it's to her.
Okay.
But the code enforcement officer issued another ticket because it went up to 13 boats, and at $300 per violation, in other words, per boat. So that's $3,900 ticket, which can be per day. It's what the ticket says. It's $300 per violation per day. So he issued that. And the first one that was issued was for 10 boats, which is what was there at that time. So that was 3,000 per day. So it's gone past this 30-day period where you have to pay it, or it becomes a criminal action. So that's where that one resides. So it's really in the hands of the code enforcement and the police chief. You know, as far as enforcement goes, we don't have anything to do with that.
Yep.
Which kind of moves us on to, just as a comment, we had an item that's been on here for a while. It's a Concom Lake Management DEP joint meeting. And at that 29th meeting, July 29th meeting with DEP, they suggested holding off till after the 1st of December, because that then they can comment on closure on some of the other stuff that they're working on. So I think that's a good move. I think it's premature to do anything prior to that, because then we're just going to be, you know, bothering them piecemeal, and they would rather do it like we did. We spent an hour with them, and it was very, very productive. So, the next one, the lake level, was Mike measure was 225.12, I think it was, or 13.
225.15. Maybe an inch and a half over 225.
Yeah.
That was as of today at 1 o'clock.
Coming down.
Going down, which is good
Going
news.
down, but very slowly, Dick. There's a lot of water still coming in from Goose Pond.
Yeah.
So it's backing everything up.
We do know it was up to 225, 2.5.
It was.
Yeah.
And you know the one thing that we have to talk about a little bit is you have a new beast on the lake this year. You have these wake boats, and these wake boats do just that, put out a huge wake. And the amount of erosion because of this high water, it's really just ripping apart the beachfronts.
You know, the deep V boats that are out put out wakes like that too.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, we got to get them off the lake. Just a joke, Eric.
Yeah, I got you.
Dick, one of the things that we should consider, I know nobody wants to close the lake, but that would definitely stir up some interest and point out the fact that we don't have a good drainage system and that we need to really dredge that canal so we can get rid of some of the water.
Yeah, I mean, now we do have a level at which we're required to close the lake to boating. We're just not there.
We weren't
Well,
there.
we aren't right now, but we were.
Right.
No, we
right.
weren't there for closing the lake.
Right. We hadn't quite gotten there.
You were there for a no wake situation.
Right. But we've dropped back below.
So,
yeah, it's something, you know, I've mentioned it to people before, and I think the public in general doesn't realize that there's that there are lake levels where if the lake gets above a certain level, it's required. It's not like a choice. It's required that we close it to boating.
yeah.
I think the public in general doesn't realize that, and doesn't realize there isn't much we can do. If a lot of rain comes in with the canal the way it is, we can't do much.
Right.
Absolutely. We'd all agree to that. The canal is the key. If we could ever, the Beaver Dam down there right now, you got Goose Pond running underneath the rails to trail things coming into the lake a mile a minute. Both of those culverts were coming in fast. That's helping bring it up. To me, it almost seems like, why don't we shut the culverts down there and let the water come in on the other side, further south?
It won't
Help us or not.
Scotty, it still comes in around through the, it comes in like a back door back into the lake.
All I know is of late, I've spent a lot of time down there. It pours through those culverts. And part of me says if the culverts were closed, I mean, sure, you get some drainage.
Which
That would act more like a dam.
which culverts?
The two culverts that are on the bike trail that are slightly north of our weir gates.
Right, and it's still gonna, then what happens is that same water still has to go out. And the problem is that goes into Palmer Brook. Palmer Brook is part of the whole system.
Right,
The whole
but Palmer,
problem is, the whole problem is that
Palmer
Canal
Brook is a
Brook,
lot south though of
it
the
doesn't
breach.
matter. We've had it back up into the lake.
Oh, don't get me wrong. We were within a half an inch of that happening 2 days ago.
Yep.
Yesterday it was a half an inch drop between the canal and the other side of the weir gates.
But the
And it's
basic problem is we have to get Canal Brook all the way
Dredged.
through Connecticut
Dredged.
dredged.
Yep. And I hate to say it, they really need to lower the culvert at Phelps Road. It's
True.
too high.
But you would get more if you could dredge the part in Massachusetts, because it is lower on the other side. Normally, south of the weir gates is empty. This time of year, it's usually bone dry down there.
Right.
Right now, it's as deep as the lake is. It's on the same level. It's going across. There might be an inch drop at the most at the weir gates.
Right.
And the
there's a lot of
gates are all
debate.
the way down. The gates are way underwater. They're
I
as
agree
low
with
as you can get them.
I agree with you. And don't get me wrong, we both agree on that.
Yep.
But there is a lot of debris slowing down some of the flow,
Right.
even though it's not that strong,
Sure.
but there is some debris there that's slowing down the flow coming through the weir gates.
It
True.
also
And
took
the
out
more
part
we
of the
get-
road. It also took out part of the road in the Connecticut part.
Yep.
There's that much water was flowing through the Connecticut part, but it's still not enough cross section to carry the water fast enough to get it all the way down to the Farmington River, where eventually.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I agree. I think we all agree.
And part of it may be, and you don't really know until somebody does the survey work, but certainly that culvert that's at, what do you call it? Phelps Road is too high.
Right. It should be lowered. Yes, I agree.
No argument there. But
And by the way, also it was coming in at Berkshire Avenue, coming in, not going out at all, which it never goes out, but it was actually coming into the lake the other day.
yes. And that's why we need the weir gates, so we can go on to that, because there's part of what you have in there in pages 42 to 51 there's a lot of information on federal and state funding. We're trying to tap the federal funding for the dredging operations because we're talking millions. We're looking probably between the two brooks, and both really have to be done, Great Brook and Canal Brook.
Right.
We're looking at $7-8 million.
Yeah, there's no question. It'd be great if we get both of them done, because the beaver scenario on the South Pond it seems to be a never-ending battle.
And
It
if
will
you get
always
it
be
deep
like that,
enough, the
Scotty.
beavers can't dam it up. That's one of the good things. They don't like to work when it's 8-9 feet of water.
Right.
So right now the problem is it's only a couple feet.
Yeah, but we're not going to solve the dredging issue here tonight. But
No,
let's keep things in perspective. Dredging of the canal, you're talking $1 million. You're talking $4 or $5 million to dredge Great Brook, because it's like 5 times as long,
Yeah.
and it's got a lot more dredging involved. We could solve the water coming in at Great Brook by simply putting new stop logs in. We could get from Great Brook lumber up here, green oak trees, and just jam them in there, because that's all that's ever going to be used for until it's dredged all the way up near Depot Road.
We can do that for cheap.
Yes.
Right, but we can also in parallel, because the money's there for infrastructure, to have weir gates put in there. So we have the option to be able to raise them even more.
If the money's there, Dick, I'm not, arguing that it wouldn't be a good thing if the money was there, but we haven't been able to get money for any of these projects now in what, 4 years?
But what has happened is this ARPA funding is now at state level. It's federal funds at state level to fix infrastructure. And that's why those letters were
By the
sent.
way, one more thing on the wear gates down there. Evidently, somebody's been messing around with these things, either
Yeah.
up or down. It certainly is not me, and I know it's not Mike. And he's got the piece of apparatus, but I think anybody would hate to say it with a hyperwrench or a pair of vice grips can turn this, turn them up or down.
We should look at how we could put something covers over those that have a lock on them, literally, so they're locked, not just a plastic cover.
Yeah.
Design something that we could permanently affix that it's locked, and it would have, you can put the tool in it if you take the cover off that's locked in place.
Yeah.
So if you're down there, think about that.
Okay.
All right, so moving along, 159 Berkshire Avenue is the next one on the agenda, and that again, that's there's an engineer that's been hired, an environmental engineer by the owner, which was mandated, and he's subject to some huge fines. And unfortunately, he was added again. And now the area above where he was working before, which was directly across from the Old Town Beach, now he's up to the north of there, probably 200-300 feet north of where he was working before, cleared all that, and not a blade of grass, not a tree, nothing sticking up. And during Hurricane Henri, it ran down the side of the road into the catch basins, through the culvert under the road, and on into the detention pond, and likely right into Congamon. It was a muddy river. And I wasn't going to go down with all that wind and everything, hoof it down to the waterfront to see what was happening down there, if it made it all the way. But I would expect that it did, because the last time it did, it just ran right through. So the engineer is fully aware of that now and is in contact with the owner about cease and desist, as is our code enforcement.
I mean, this has been going on for I don't know how long. How many cease and desists have there been, and nothing's happened?
Right. But there is, like I said, there's huge fines have been levied.
Yeah,
So,
but it's not stopping him.
no. And I don't understand the logic there.
I'm assuming he's not paying the fines though.
Yeah, that I don't know. I doubt it. I don't think he is.
And so I don't understand, so fines are levied. He doesn't pay the fines. He keeps doing what he's been doing. This is several years. Does anybody have any way to actually get compliance? It's kind of remarkable.
Well, I believe our code enforcement can. And conservation needs to get involved in it directly, because it's going into the detention pond and on into the lake. And I think that's where we need conservation support. So anyway, I think we can, we can beat that one to death too. But maybe Norm, you can bring that up. Make sure that
Will do.
make sure it's an agenda item.
Yeah.
Because Chris Pratt took you've got a copy of his input on that issue. It's in the package. So we really need some action that comes at him from conservation as well.
Okay.
And so the next thing was lake safety. And there's several areas about that. One thing is that the police boat has a lot of patrols. I don't know if
Oh,
you've all
yeah.
noticed that.
Oh, yeah,
Lots
the
of
police
patrols.
boat and the sheriff.
Sheriff's boat, yep.
Yep.
And the EPOs are out too. The past weekend, not on the rainy day, but they are also the environmental police. What they're doing is, this issue about the huge groupings of boats in the northeast corner of North Pond and the southeast corner of
Yep.
South Pond.
Yep.
Well, one of the things the EPOs are looking at is if they are interfering with navigation, then they can break it up, and they can also require a permit, a mass environmental police permit, just like it has to be had for the boat parade or any event on the water. Once you have an event on a great pond, you do need an environmental, mass environmental police permit. And that's what they're looking at. And that's separate from them also patrolling to try and slow things down. We've had a lot of crazy insanity out there. So the environmental police are out. They've been in constant contact. So let's see what they find. And the Southwick police clocked 2 jet skis in excess of 60 miles an hour, and they got major tickets, and another one in excess of 70 miles an hour, not the same night, but again, major tickets, hundreds of dollars. And so at any rate, there's been a lot of police activity on the lake. And like you said, you also see the sheriff's boat out there patrolling, which is good. So kind of going where I said I would take us on the buoy lights. If you go to pages 65 to 70, you'll see on page 69, you'll see a guard made by RAB, R-A-B. And I think Annie's got it. There we go. So on page 69, that's commercially available. I bought one. I'm waiting for the light and all the other parts to come from from Rollian, who makes the buoys and the lights that are Coast Guard approved. And from the dimensions that I have, the light will fit in that cage. And it's a really well-made cage that can protect the buoy light. In addition, we need what's on page 70. If you go one more, that's an adapter that would have to be made out of stainless steel, because we have to be able to bolt it. There's a threaded rod sticks up through the center of the buoy. So there's an access hole in the center of that to get at the nut. This thing would be basically an adapter that the buoy light would be affixed to. And then that cage that was on page 69 would cover the buoy light. So everything has to be accessible for servicing purposes. You have to be able to remove the buoy light when batteries have to be replaced. They are solar, but they do have replaceable batteries. Mm-hmm. And it needs to be rugged. It can't be made out of plastic. The current ones that are available from the manufacturer are plastic. That's not going to work. That's what they broke when we tried that
years ago.
So this would be, like I said, out of stainless steel, welded, kind of belt and suspenders. So the whole thing, a buoy would cost, and the sheriff's department has offered to make these for us for free.
Really?
Yeah. So once we They have that capability in the prison.
Ah,
So they're very willing to participate and provide those adapters once we define exactly what they need to look like. And when I get all the parts in hand, then I can make that drawing, make a real drawing, not a sketch. So that's a concept with some approximate dimensions, but it would have to be a detailed drawing for them to make it. Any questions on that?
No, looks good. You make it fly.
Yeah. So the next thing is on pages 71 to 83. The tournament rules, the updated tournament rules that came out of our previous meetings. And those have been sent to all current holders of permits for tournaments, to the tournament directors. They were also handed out at the tournaments. And I sent an email out to each tournament director that had a start time that was earlier than 7 a.m., telling them that they had to start no earlier than 7 a.m. So we've beat that one down. And included in what you see there between 71 to 83 is an example of a new permit that already the fishing and boating access, go down a couple more, Annie, you'll see. Let me get mine out too so I can follow along. So the Office of Fishing Boating Access on the new permits, there we go. It says the facility has a 7 a.m. start time and a 6 a.m. arrival time. No, it's where they arrive on site. They can't arrive any earlier than 6 a.m. and they get a copy of that notice that you saw earlier.
Mhm.
And that went out.
I switched the page because it had somebody's address on it.
Yeah. So at any rate, everybody got those.
Good.
And we'll get them in the future. So then we get to
Dick, before you go off that subject, this
yeah,
is Mike DeBay. I got a question for you.
Yeah.
You said you sent them out to all the tournament guys that already have permits in and for for permits to do a tournament. Is this available also? The rules available on a website so that anybody thinking of doing it can look it up, so they can't say I didn't know about it or something?
it goes to, when you make an application, it goes as part of the package to the applicant. Every applicant for Congamon gets that.
But it's not on the web page so they can read it if they want to, or anybody can. I'm just trying to make sure we're getting information out to people instead of having them say, I don't know.
They get it. Like I say, it's part on the permit. It says see conditions attached.
Yeah.
And everybody pretty much so knows about how the things have changed here of late.
Right.
Yeah, but you would think everybody would know we have a counterclockwise rotation, and now we got signs going up to tell them. So
Right.
you can't assume people know things.
Right.
That was my only point. You get a lot of people out here that don't know a lot of the things you think they know.
But even putting it online doesn't matter. They're still not going to, you can lead a horse to water.
True, but at least you got it out there for them.
And it's part of every permit.
Okay. I just think it ought to be, I think all this stuff should be made available on the webpage so people can read it, because that's where people go for information. But that's
Right,
my
but
opinion.
it's not our permit. It would have to be on the public access permit.
Mhm.
We don't issue the permits, they do.
Okay.
So speaking of counterclockwise travel, I I had emailed out copies of the signs that are now posted. They're yellow, red, and white, very, very visible. And I personally put them up at both ramps. There's at the launch area, there's one at north, one at south. At south, there's also one on the building, on the contact station. So when you leave, you're looking right at it. At north ramp, there's one as you enter, there's one on the ramp pad area. There's also one on the, in the tie down area. So there's 3 opportunities at north and 2 at south to read this kind of obnoxious yellow, red, and white sign with big letters that says counterclockwise, blah, blah, blah. So again, it's extremely visible. Plus they're getting the lecture from the ramp attendants. So I think we've, made it very visible. And again, I say you lead a horse to water. It's no different than the ones that say, well, I didn't know when they go blowing through a no wake zone. I think this comes back to what we've said so many times. Massachusetts has to get on board with requiring a license to operate a boat. You got to have a license to operate a vehicle you can kill somebody with. You should have a license to operate a boat you can kill somebody with.
Well, that day will probably come.
I hope so. Sooner than later. So then that comes to page 84. And Annie is basically telling us that it's a resignation letter effective November 1st. So
I make a motion that we don't accept it.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 In the letter, I did say I will stay on the meetings until May 1st to make sure that nobody's left hanging. So I'll still be on the meetings until May 1st.
And maybe we can bend her a little bit on the other. So anyway, I like the vote personally. I think we should record that vote. The rest of that package beyond page 84 is a lot of FYI stuff. If I see interesting things, articles that are on our area. And one other thing that I have not seen the article, but there is one that I get a chance to read the paper yet. Southwick did not go over the 10,000 mark. Actually, we had a slight reduction in population for the 2020 census. So that's kind of good news in that it leaves us still eligible for a lot of the grants that we would have been ineligible for had we gone to 10,001 people. That's a magic number for a lot of grants.
Okay.
So we either maybe there were people on vacation or we hid them in the closet or something when they counted, but it was not a significant drop, but it was a drop in population, and it was expected to be an increase. So anyway, and I think does anybody else have anything?
I guess my only comment is I see the police blotter and it always seems to be verbal warning. Vote that's
Yeah.
registered, you don't get a verbal warning.
No.
There's something wrong there. That's my comment.
Yeah, and my personal feeling is that, for instance, if you should not get a verbal warning for blowing through a no wake zone at 30 miles an hour or whatever. That should be an automatic ticket Because if you don't understand what no wake and 5 miles an hour says on the buoy, it's not like you have to interpret it. It's like saying, I didn't understand that 30 mile an hour sign, and I was doing 60. Well, I agree with you, Mike.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, are they gonna move the buoy that's in front of White Street that's marking something supposedly in the lake?
Say that again?
The buoy that's out in front of White Street,
Yeah.
that was supposedly marking something they found, divers or something, they're looking down below for a sunk
Oh,
boat.
there's a boat down there.
Are they gonna do something with that, or?
Yeah, they're gonna get it up when they can get out, when the divers can get out, because they're gonna have to float it.
Oh, I didn't realize there's a boat down there?
Yes.
Maybe it's Bab's boat. Bab's
What'd
beach.
you say?
It's what? It's not Bab's boat. No, they know exactly what it is.
No, I'm just kidding. I know it's not Bab's boat, but rumor years ago is he sunk that boat in the middle pond somewhere, supposedly.
Right, but this is not
Right. Smaller, I'm sure.
much. So at any rate, their intention is to float it.
How about the buoy that's down by Mike, by your house, Coombs Cove there? Is that still floating down there?
Yeah, down near Kurt Saunders' house. Yeah,
Yeah,
see it? Yeah, that's there. The blue boat with the automotive engine, that's tied off to the tree over there. You know. but-
I don't know whose float it
Do
is,
anything
Dick,
about
but it
that
looks
one
too
either.
small to be one of ours.
Yeah, I don't know whose it is.
What kind of a buoy is it?
It looks like the ones that, the white ones with the orange stripes.
I mean, but is it the size of ours or small?
Well, it's not now. I think it's pretty tall. Looks like the normal size one.
Right, but you know what ours are with the big.
With the base, I don't see the base on it. No.
Dick, when I saw it,
Maybe a private buoy.
yeah, when
Yeah.
I saw it, Dick, it looked like one of the ones you see where people put up no swimming and they have an area roped
Right.
off or something.
All right, a swimming buoy. Yep.
Yeah, I'm sure a
Somebody
lot
can
of
take
that
a
broke
picture of-
off.
If you can take a
Yeah.
picture of it, would be appreciated.
Okay,
And just take a picture also showing about where it is, with respect to the land. So
yeah,
picture of it and a picture of where it is.
okay, I'll do that tomorrow. I'll send it.
Okay. All righty.
Dick, this
Okay.
is Mike DeBay. I got a comment. I'm gonna be this weekend, provided we have decent weather. I'm gonna be down the Weir Gates looking at where I can put up the extra ruler thing. Yeah, I got the stainless one from Ken. We got
Good.
holes drilled in it, and we got to look at where it can be mounted flat, where it won't get damaged,
Okay.
and make sure the level obviously is right. Now, I'm going to assume that the level indicator at the south ramp or at the south ramp is accurate.
It is. It is. I
Okay.
verified that. It was this week. I sent you a text about
Yeah, I
that.
saw the text that you sent. So
Yes.
I'll assume that that's accurate because we got a different style of embutment there to hook it onto.
Yeah.
And we got to get it where you can see it from the land because you don't want to have to get in a boat to go look at it.
Right.
Mike,
Okay.
give me a call. I might be around to a hand with that. Hey, by the way, on another note, I don't know if everybody knew this, but Kurt Saunders, his wife and daughter had gone down to visit the other brother down in Florida. They all ended up getting COVID. And Kurt Saunders' wife is in the hospital as we speak. Last I knew, on a ventilator. So she's really having a tough time with COVID.
Well, that's sad.
She is improving.
I heard that too. But she's still in.
Yeah, they're weaning her off the ventilator now.
Right. She's been on 11 or 12 days already.
Yeah. All right. Do we have anything else?
Yes. We did not talk about the planning committee, the new planning committee.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for the reminder. because that got inserted in between when we were supposed to have our last meeting and now. There's a new planning committee for a master plan for Southwick. They would like somebody from Lake Management to participate. And so we're looking for somebody with, good knowledge of the general knowledge of the town and of the lakes, and from our committee, who would be willing to participate in that committee. And they're having somebody from each of the major committees participants in this, because it's a long range plan for the town.
And do they have to be Massachusetts residents?
I don't know the answer to that. I really don't know the answer to that. If you want to if you're interested, send a quick note to me, email, and I will find out.
Dick, what kind of commitment are we talking about for something like
That's a
that? A
problem.
master plan takes a while.
I think that's again, if you want to try and assemble some questions for them, just shoot them at me and I'll forward them to whoever's trying to organize it. Plate is too full right now. Mine.
That's why I ask what type of commitment it is. You want to
probably-
know before you jump into something.
Oh, yeah, that's why I suggest that you ask, you could say, might be interested, but want to know what the commitment would be.
Yeah. Okay, so if we got questions, send them to you. Gotcha.
Yeah, please. I don't mind being the funnel.
Yep.
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Who made the motion?
Scotty,
Scotty. And we have a second,
Mike DeBay.
Mike D. And all in favor?
Aye.
Hey.
Opposed? Unanimous.